I personally have looked at speakers a little bit and put them on pedestals and listening to them on different apps and stuff, and I never really realized how easy it is to get a hold of us. And even, it doesn't matter what state you're in, it's pretty easy to get a hold of us. We're a pretty tight-knit fellowship. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Nate C., our speaker tonight. He's from Utah right now, although he says I'd like to introduce him from everywhere.
I'm Nathan, I'm an addict. Grateful to be in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, man. I always say thank God for sponsorship and let the newcomers know ain't no big eyes and little U's, man. And I'm nervous, man. I'm nervous as hell, like always. You know, I ain't never liked the front of the class, but for some reason God keep putting me up here, man. So, so I'm practicing on being obedient, man. They told me when I was new to do it scared, man. So, I understand that lives are at stake, right? So I always take this commitment seriously, man. And I ponder in my head like every other person that gets up to this podium, about what I was going to say. And, I look up things in my literature and how can I touch the crowd. And, I was thinking about the topic, the ties that bind us together, man. And I was doing research, man, and I found it in the Living Clean book. And I understand that it's directly tied to our traditions. And I was doing all this, and then I got here, right? And I seen all the vans, and my spirit was telling me when I was sitting there, man, the message that I thought I might want to carry might have been a little too complicated for the new guy, right? Would anybody with 6 months or less raise their hand? Well, so a lot of y'all probably don't know me, man. I travel for a living. Welcome, John, from Las Vegas. All right, he probably don't remember me. I got a little weight on me now, man, but at my last white key tag, right, you was sitting in the room, you with the beard, all right? You was sitting at the turning point. When I waddled back in there, man, on my 5th try, man, like not understanding what was wrong with me, man, not certain, if I could do this deal, what life was gonna look like for me, man. And like I'm grateful, man, so I'm gonna just go, man. Like I gotta tell you my using story, right? I got a timer. My using story is simple. Like the guys with 6 months or less, your using story probably was like mine when I got here. That motherfucker was ginormous. It took a long time to tell you about finding ways and means to get more. But what happened on 8/15/05, man, is I made a decision that I was gonna have to do something different. And so that decision was to try Narcotics Anonymous program. Our literature says that we ain't never seen a person fail that has lived this program. I did everything but that. I had the terminal hypnosis in the fatal coup. I had the dilemma with switching chemicals, and my problem was exactly what the collective experience found out before I got here. In our symbol, it says that probably the last to be lost is the stigma of being an addict. And that was my problem, man. I just had a little drug problem. You know what I'm saying? If I quit hanging out with Junebug and Pookie and going down the wrong block, I won't end up in these situations. I had it all figured out. And what happened is I prolonged my pain, man, and I came here, right? And so my story comes from page 5 in the Green and Gold book. You probably seen them in our meetings, and it's called It Works, How and Why It Works. So my using story, I'm coming up on 12 years clean, and my using, my using story ain't changed, except I learned how to identify with the collective experience and simplify the delivery of my using story. So it says that before coming to NA, most of us tried everything we could to control our drug use. We tried switching drugs, thinking that we only had a problem with one particular drug. We tried limiting our drug use to certain times or places. We may have vowed to stop using altogether at a certain point. We may have told ourselves that we would never do the things that we watched other addicts do, then found ourselves doing those very things. Nothing we tried had any lasting effect. Our active addiction continued to progress, overpowering our best intentions. Alone and terrified of what the future held for us, we found the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I gotta go and get it out the way. If not, Dougie gonna have to interpret for y'all, man. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna see a man cry today, right? This is a room full of men with less than 6 months clean, so you probably ain't seen a man cry unless he was hitting something with somebody. I can promise you that, like, I won't throw nothing. I can promise you that these are tears of joy, man. Like, I'm grateful, man, you know, to have found this way of life, man, and to be willing to continue in my recovery, man. Like, recovery is an active change in my attitudes and behaviors, right? It ain't just going to meetings. You know, recovery is an active change in my ideas and my attitudes, man. So with 11 years and some change clean, man, my whole life is different, man. So I'm constantly reminded that I need a change in my thinking, because my solutions is off, man, left to my own devices, man. So the therapeutic value of one addict helping another, man. So I showed up in Hillsboro, Oregon, man, doing what I was taught to do, man, right? Go to meetings. We ain't never seen a person fail that has lived the Narcotics Anonymous program. Meet and makers make it, right? So I did what they taught me, man. I showed up in Forest Grove, right? And I went to the meeting and I let them know that I was an out-of-town visitor with Clean Time seeking recovery, seeking an active change, man, with Clean Time, because the coast ain't clear. And it's terrifying when you get off the block, right? You get clean in your little circle and you get to know people, and then you go somewhere else, right? So the guys with 6 months clean, man, because your story gonna change. If you stay clean, your reality gonna change. But remember this guy that told you from the one-horse town to the major city, right? I followed instructions and I went to the meeting and I told them who I was, and they showed me unconditional love from the one-horse town to the major city. And so in Forest Grove, I walk in the meeting. It was a birthday meeting at Kick the Monkey, which became my home group. And I let them know that I was an out-of-town visitor, and Matthew H. and California John, man, showed me love, man. You know what I mean? Like from the moment I stepped foot into this town, man, I've always loved it, the Portland area, right? Because the therapeutic value of one act helping another, man. And I had phone lists, and they told me about this meeting. Matter of fact, I didn't even know what my apartment was. And they said, well, then we go to this other meeting. And I said, okay, and I got in the truck. I followed them through the fucking bushes, and I ended up at another meeting. I didn't know how to get back to the apartment, but the therapeutic value, right? I felt the love, right? I felt the love, man, and I trusted my God, man, and I followed them, and I'm so glad I did, man. Because what happened is that opened up an opportunity for me to meet a lot of people, man. So I met a lot of people and experienced a lot of love, you know, through the fellowship of the Portland area, man, the Forest Grove area, and I'm grateful for that, man. You know, and so if you knew, man, like if you struggled with probably the last to be lost is the stigma of being an addict. I had to look that shit up. I ain't know what that meant, right? And it means my perception, right? My dad was a dope fiend, man. My uncle was a dope fiend. I met some other dope fiends. I passed by them on the side of the road like that wasn't me, right? In my mind. I just had a little drug problem. But I didn't understand that it wasn't the drugs that made me an addict, it was my reaction to the drugs. right? This is a program for learning, right? So in order to be attracted to something, I got to hear the message, right? We all know what it was like, you know. We tried switching drugs thinking we only had a problem with one particular drug. We tried limiting our drug use to certain times and places. That was me. I stepped on the pipe 100 times, man, said, I ain't never doing fuck this shit. I ain't never doing this shit no more. Then I found myself doing that very thing again because I didn't understand the disease of addiction, man. I thought it was something shameful about being an addict. And I didn't understand that I was just allergic to chemicals. Like, it's simple, right? I got a new analogy, man. Y'all might like this one. So the doctors say at 12 years clean, 11 years and some change, no fronts, player, keep coming back. So what happens now is like I'm getting older and I got some new realities. One of them is high blood pressure, right? So my whole life I practice outright defiance. I don't follow instructions. I told the help how to help me, you know, like I did sponsor, you know what I mean? Sponsor said, try this, but man, look, right? So here, it's simple, right? Simple as that. So how you doing today, Mr. Cozy? I'm good. Well, due to the blood test samples that we got back, we found out that you're allergic to shrimp. What? Man, I love shrimp. Well, you can no longer have shrimp. What do you mean? Well, if you eat shrimp, right, your throat is going to close up, your face is going to swell up, and you're going to feel like you're going to die. Well, man, I love shrimp. 2 weeks later, we having the barbecue and they having grilled shrimp. He didn't say grilled shrimp. Right? So I eat the grilled shrimp, right? And my throat swell up and my face get all red and I gotta go get a shot, right? Prolonging my pain. So the next time I see the commercial and they got sauteed shrimp with butter and garlic sauce, so I go buy some frozen shrimp and I saute them because I'm gonna get all the enzymes out of them, and I do it again, right? And so laughter is a source of identification, man. The disease of addiction is simple as that. You don't need, this the only disease where you get to diagnose yourself, man. And like if you don't hear nothing else I say, man, I would encourage you like to look within yourself. You know, the guys with 6 months, you know what I mean? 6 months or less, man. Look within yourself and you probably asking yourself, how the fuck did I end up here again? Why I keep doing this shit, right? You know, because most of us, when we get here, we get to this point, man, we using against our will. We got good intentions. Like, I'm gonna get paid on Friday, man, I'm gonna do the right thing, man. And then the collective experience found out, and Who's an Addict says that the disease of addiction talks to me in my own voice, which makes treatment and diagnosis difficult, if not impossible. Man, we all right, man. You could just look, let's get you a 40. You know what I'm talking about? Right? It's Friday, man. You know what I'm saying? Get you a 40, man. Just do that. Take care of your business, you know. And then a week later, Nate C. appeared. That was my story, right? So I'm going to talk to you about the recovery process, about the active change, man, and the demolition process and my attitudes, you know, and in my thinking, man, which are totally different, man. I practiced outright defiance for a long time, man, but my predecessors, like, they loved me, man. They loved me unconditionally. It was strange. I never had anybody, like, do that, man, you know, because the people in my life, my mother, my grandmother, the people in my community, at that time, man, nobody understood the disease of addiction, right? I was just a little bad little motherfucker, you know what I mean? So I got punished, man, you know what I mean? When really I was reaching out for help, man. But because of their limited knowledge about the disease of addiction, man, I was just a fuck up. This comes from my third tradition, man. This is gonna be a hope shot. It says, refusing admission to any addict, even the one who comes merely out of curiosity, may be a death sentence for that addict. We learn to practice tolerance of addicts who don't look like us, think like us, or share like us. We teach by example. Pressuring newer members to talk like us or act like us, like we do, may send them back to the streets. It certainly denies them the right to recover at their own rate. It says that compassion lends kindness to all our efforts in service to others. With compassion as the foundation of our actions, we learn to support members through their difficulties they may experience. All too often, we are quick to judge the quality of another member's recovery willingness. And then it says on the other page, man, that desire is not a measurable quantity. So people in my life, man, my feet weren't matching my heart. Our third step says that the path from the heart to the mind is often a long one, right? When I would go on them benders, in my heart, man, I knew I had to go back and get help. So I went to places seeking help, and then I did it again. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. But what was happening in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, the seed was being planted, man. Like that sponsor guy, right, was showing me unconditional love, man. He was practicing empathy, and he loved me, man. He would tell me stuff like, man, you did the best you could with what you had. It's a miracle you lasted that long. Some of y'all gonna have to let that marinate, do some step work, right? Clean time don't equal recovery, right? So I was coming around the rooms, but I hadn't had no active change in my ideas and my attitudes. So what happened is I came here, right? And I wanted to leave that shit over there. I just want to start from this day, and I want to create a new life. And because I was clean, because I was abstinent, I got an instant pay raise. So I could clean up the messes, right? And I started to create a new life. That's what happened. But the disease of addiction is progressive even during abstinence. It says most of our information came from misinformed people. I'm here to tell you that you can get misinformed information sitting in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, like the one that says, my disease outside doing push-ups. Bullshit. The collective experience found out that the disease of addiction is within me 24 hours a day. So he's sitting in the chair with Nacy. How I know that is because systematically examining all areas of my life. That's fourth step, right? Looking at my motivations and what drove me to use. I caught my first felony sitting in the back of the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. The disease of addiction was present, and it talked to me in my own voice, which made treatment and diagnosis difficult, if not impossible. I ain't had the courage to tell nobody what I was thinking. Right? Because, man, I had a year and 2 days clean. Right? I shouldn't be thinking about homicidal shit, should I? Huh? I shouldn't be thinking about using, should I? Well, the literature says for an addict, not using is an abnormal state. The literature says in the first step, It Works High and Wide says, that many of us may find ourselves having problems with things that we never had a problem with until we quit using drugs. So why is that abnormal? Because I ain't read no literature. So I don't understand the solution yet. You understand? So I made a decision that I'm still paying consequences for, man, spiritually. Like I knew it was another way, man. I really didn't want to do that, man. But the motherfucking feelings drove me to use, man. Them feelings drove me to use anger, resentment, and fear to justify the mess that I was making of my life, man. I ain't talking about it wasn't no motherfucking accident. It was a conscious decision, all the way down to making sure my brother had the bail money, man. It wasn't no accident. Like that motherfucker was present, man. He sounded like sponsor. And I felt backed into a corner, man. I hope you never have to feel that pain, man. I hope you never have to walk 11 years in your recovery with regret, man. Wishing you could have done something different, knowing, damn, man, if I'd have just told somebody. If I'd have just told somebody, man, what would it be like today? I'm talking about internally, man. You know the shit we hear in the meeting, the internal and external forces that could destroy us. Like these transferable skills that we dealing with, man. If you knew, like, welcome to Narcotics Anonymous, man. This is a new way of life, but God gonna need your help, man. Like if you believe in me and you think you don't believe in a power greater than yourself, just keep coming back. Because anything that I say that touched something within you, right, is what the second step says. Many of us believe that this power was working for us long before the rooms in Narcotics Anonymous. And so what happened, man, is that I prolonged my pain clean. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I stopped using. So I had a little extra money. I had money like on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday for a little while. So I bought a few pair of Nikes. I bought all the shit that the pawn shop sold while I was in treatment. I got all that back and then some. Oh, social acceptability don't equal recovery. Oh, okay. Damn. Okay, and so, you know, I began to appear that I was doing well. You know what I mean? But I was dying on the inside, man. And so what happened, as more is revealed, is the rubber met the road. Some of y'all ain't experienced that yet. Everything that you left out there, you're gonna have to deal with, man. Sorry to tell you, man. So I had grace, man. I had grace. Disease of addiction was patient. He allowed me to accumulate things and, man, to build phony images within myself for about two years and a couple of days. Got a title back at the job. And then who and what I became as a result of using showed up. The separation. Grandma died. Granddaddy died. And these three motherfuckers I'm finna talk about had a group conscience. Back child support, IRS, and current child support. It's like they all showed up on the same day. And that ain't no bullshit. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. But what had happened is what the collective experience put in the literature, man. It says that a Narcotics Anonymous will eventually have an effect on my thinking. So some of the things within me had changed without my permission, man. And I began to deal with situations differently. And so the sponsor said, we don't put our hands on people. Anybody in here got a blame thrower? Nobody? It ain't the fucking PO's fault. It ain't the ex-wife's fault. It ain't her ex-boyfriend's fault that you choked him out. Like, ain't nobody got no blame thrower? So y'all know this is a program for learning, right? And this is how I learned it. So they got what's called the steps before the steps. You know the one when you playing on your phone, and then they reading who's an addict, why are we here, what is the Narcotics Anonymous program, when, you know, we hugging everybody, we having side conversations that nobody really pay attention to. Well, the sponsorship family that I came up in, like, you had to do that before you got to step one. My sponsor told me that I need to figure out who was really the addict, because he don't want to hear about her. He don't want to hear about the boss. We want to understand that I suffer from this disease, right? And so on page 15 and a half, they got 3 disturbing realizations. We can help old boy. I had a brain fart that day. I was tired, Dougie. 1, we're powerless over our addiction and our lives have become unmanageable. 2, although we are not responsible for our disease, we are responsible for our recovery. 3, we can no longer blame people, places, and things for our addiction. We must face our problems and our feelings. So I ain't tabbed nothing. I accept the responsibility for who and what I became as a result of using, man. I did a lot of harm that I can't undo. No matter how many days I've been clean, right? So I ain't tabbed nothing, man. But I heard this dude in the room share about losing his family, man, with 20 years clean, and he was having to leave his house, and he was having to do all these things, but he was gonna do it with character and integrity in the face of his kids. And I thought to myself, what in the fuck does that got to do with recovery? The lady was sharing about losing her dog dying and like dealing with the feelings and the loss. And I was like, what in the fuck does this have to do with not using drugs? Man, I kept coming back. When the rubber met the road for me, I heard their voices. I heard their story. It came to me. That lady was sharing about going through a natural breathing process without the use of drugs. That lady was sharing about her current reality as she walked through her life. You know, that dog was her friend, man, for 15 years. That dude was talking about having character and integrity within himself when nobody wasn't watching. He spent 20 years with that lady. How could she be a bitch? He loved that lady. And he walked through with his head up, man. I used to listen to him because I was curious on how you do that. I used to ask my sponsor, how you do that? How the fuck you do that? And what happened is, like I made it through them storms, man, and I got a new excitement for life. Like something shifted within my spirit, man, and I came to believe that the Narcotics Anonymous program could work for me. For 2.5 years, man, I sat here and I didn't know if this shit would work for me, man. I became a bobblehead. We got any bobbleheads out there? You right, sponsor. Sponsor said, you doing good, Nate. You right, yeah, man. The people at the job say, man, you really done changed, man. The people at the home group say, you looking good, bruh. Thank you, bruh. Right? But can't sleep at night. We ain't got no bobbleheads in here. I know I ain't the only one. And so we gonna fast forward, man. So what has happened as a result of the 12-step process, man, in my life, man, everything new, man. Everything new. The 4th step talks about what's appropriate for one phase of recovery may not be appropriate for the next. So some of the decisions I made at 7 years clean, I can't undo. But I wouldn't make them today, right? And so with 11 years and some change clean in a totally new reality, man, right? This is who I was when I got here. I sat in the back of the room, I put my paper on the table, I ain't do that hugging shit, you ain't need to know how I was doing, and I ain't need to know how you was doing, right? Because internally, right, nobody needs a hug more than the one that has nothing to give. So I ain't feel like I had nothing to give, man. I felt like a complete fucking loser, man. Internally, man. I'm talking about sitting in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and still suffering. So with 11 years and some change clean, man, some days the old boogaboos is how they labeled it, come back to haunt me. And I understand that to be my thinking. Like I ain't good enough. You know, man, like certain areas ain't gonna never change, man. Like why I keep doing this shit, man. Like, I don't want to do this shit no more, man. Like, what's wrong with me? Talking about with clean time, man. I ain't talking about 4-Step talks about the phony images gotta go. How you deal with these new realities? How you deal with success? The literature say the good times are often a threat. How you deal with that shit? Who taught me how to manage money? Who taught me how to say no when I mean no? Y'all did. Y'all told me I ain't have to be a doormat no more, man. So, what happens because of my new belief system is got a lot of internal conflict within my family. How you deal with that and still stand on your 2 feet and believe in what you believe in? How you do that? When everybody coming at you right here telling you what you should do. And then the disease of addiction start contemplating, maybe you're a little too hard. Maybe you need to waver a little bit. And so my guy, man, I had the same job for 23 years. The only reason I don't act like I ain't do nothing big, right? The only reason that I didn't get kicked out of the union is because it's totally acceptable to be a fuck up. Right? You get your 4th DUI, no problem. At 50 years old, they teach you which block to go down where the police don't ride that much. You know what I mean? You flunk a drug test, they show you the way. Each one teach one. That's the only reason I didn't fuck that up. So let's get that clear. And like, my spirit heavy, man. My spirit heavy, man. The literature say you can't save your face and your ass at the same time, man. Right? The disease of addiction is progressive even during abstinence. The disease of addiction don't discriminate. You don't believe, you look beside you. Don't care about what your mom and daddy got. Don't care about your fucking job title. Don't care about the kind of house you live in, right? So I've been paying attention to my community, man. And I just left Reno, Nevada, right? And in my community, where I spent numerous months in, man, they were falling off. 10 years clean, 12 years clean, 17 years clean. One of the most devastating, I couldn't believe it. My man probably know, had a young lady at our home group, man, with 28 years clean, man, walking the streets of Las Vegas right now, man. That lady helped me so much. And I often wonder, man, if I was in the level of pain that they in, what would be my response? I ain't talking about using drugs, because I got some shit, most of our information came from misinformed people. So some people say, the longer I stay here, the closer I get to the drug. If I got an active 12-step program, drugs ain't my first solution. Some people say everywhere I go, I take me with me. That's absolutely true. But it's a new me, right? Unless I revert back to old behaviors, unless I become isolated in a room full of people with clean time. And so in Reno, I got connected. I was a part of the service structure on a few levels, and I stayed clean. I met some friends. Some of them probably be lifelong friends, like some of the friends I have in this room. And then I got to my new community. And my motherfucking heart been hurting. And the disease of addiction said, fuck them meetings. I go to the meeting. I walk in the meeting. I don't get a hug. Where I got clean at, they got a service position with a greeter. They give you a hug. So the old boogaboos come back to hunt me. You know how people tell you shit and then you base your reality off their experience? But y'all taught me how to stand on my own 2 feet and not to base my experience off other people's reality. Like, I've been practicing that. That's a way of life for me. And so I go to another meeting. This is my truth in the here and now. Active 12-step program, trying to fit in, man. I want to go to the meeting, man. I want to get in the middle. If ain't no solution, I want to bring some. But at the same time, I need to get some. So I go to the next meeting, and I don't get a hug. But I keep coming back, right? And my spirit told me to go to this meeting. I go to that meeting, and I barely got out of the truck. The guy said, "You ain't from these parts, huh?" And I thought, how could you tell? Right? This is my truth, man. This is what I'm facing, man. Ain't no exaggeration. It's my motherfucking truth. But I'm talking to my support group all along the way. But I'm going to keep going back. I'm determined to recover. I'm determined to find my place. Right? And I keep coming back. And they show me love at that meeting. And I go to this other meeting. And I'm talking to the little guy. First of all. So how many meetings we got in Forest Grove? So we got 50 meetings a week, right? You know how it is. When the the relationship go bad, the hostage escape. So you pull up at 12 steps to freedom and you say, fuck that, I don't want to go to that fucking meeting. I'm gonna go to the other one. You gonna go to another meeting, right? You get to that meeting and fuck that goddamn Nate C. long-winded ass over there. I'm gonna go to this meeting, right? So what I'm saying is you got options, right? You got options in your community. Well, this particular community is a metropolitan city, and it has 29 meetings a week. So I've attended 14 of those meetings up to right now. A big meeting is 30 to 40 people. So I go to this meeting, and it has 5 meetings a week in the same location. And I'm talking to this young man, and I thought, wow, man, he must have been around. And then during the meeting, he shared that he had 141 days, and he was secretary in 4 meetings. And I said, I'm looking for a service position. And I said, do I need to join the home group? Who is the GSR? Oh, I guess that'll be me. I said, well, who the treasurer? Well, I kind of just turn the money in. Talking about the ties that bind us together. Each one teach one. I'm talking about sitting in the room, right, and not understanding how blessed I was to have the predecessors behind the scenes making it possible for the dude that kept coming in and out. No appreciation for the ties that bind us together. And I said, man, I'll take one of them service positions. So I showed up to class yesterday. I had my first service position on my first day. And it was just like the first day. Even though I had my glasses, I misread the fucking format. I fucked it all up. I was nervous. I was nervous, man. But what happened is, man, God fed my spirit, man, and he took me back to my purpose. Because all the people that I was sharing with about my current reality kept telling me, God must have sent you there for a reason. You know, man, like, our lives become meaningful. It takes some time to really internalize and believe in yourself, right? And what we have to offer, you know, as recovering people, man. You know what I mean? And so I met this guy. His accent is just as fucked up as mine. Boy, I wish we could have recorded that conversation. He's from England. And his name is John. Yeah, I think it's John. Dave. But anyway, he was telling me about where he come from. He was telling me, you know, because I thought other people's perception had penetrated my mind about my current community and the ties that bind us together and what I had learned in Narcotics Anonymous. I thought I was fucked up because I was tired and hungry. I've been doing a lot of things. And I talked to Dave, man. He got a fucking hell of an accent. But he was telling me about England, man, and how when he got clean 22 years ago, and he was telling me about his job taking him all over and how he get a service position and how since he been there, like it's a little bit different. But I kept coming back, Nathan, and I found my place. And so he encouraged me to keep coming back, man. So what does that mean? I got way off track again. Anonymity is essential in preserving the stability of our fellowship, making personal recovery possible. Recovery is a delicate thing. It grows best in a stable, supportive environment. Each of us, and each of our groups play a part in maintaining the stability. Our unity is so precious that given a choice between fulfilling our own wishes and preserving our fellowship, common welfare, we put the best interests of NA first. We do this not only of enlightening our self-interest, not only out of enlightened self-interest, but out of a sense of responsibility to fellow addicts. What does that mean to NAC? What is my interpretation of that, man? Like, if ain't no recovery, take some. I remember Hobbs, New Mexico, man, with good intentions. My second clean day. There wasn't no meetings. And I had to drive to Lubbock, Texas, in order to make a meeting. So I did that for once a week, and then my willingness level dropped, and I smoked. And my mom said to me, how in the hell did you find drugs in that town? So for the first 3 months, I wasn't looking for drugs. I got the feelings. I got in an altercation, a verbal altercation at work, and I said, I need something. I'm going to get loaded. And I hit the block, and I never seen nothing look like Pookie. But the day that I made the decision that I was going to use drugs, I hit the block, and there go Pookie. Right? That's how I found drugs, because I was looking. So how do I find recovery? Right? I seek it. Right? So if you're new here, man, welcome to Narcotics Anonymous, man. And I want to thank the people for not shooting the new guy, right? For misquoting NA. I want to encourage the new guy, right? Keep on displaying that act of courage that it took for you to come up here and persevere through doing that reading. They say that the 12 steps become a part of us on day one. Right? You just practice the 12 steps, said we can't wait to step 2 to practice some open-mindedness. We can't wait to step 4 to practice some courage, right? And you just displayed a level of courage, man, that I didn't have when I got here. Ain't no fucking way I would have came to the front of the class. I don't care what sponsor or PO or nobody else said. I ain't doing it. Outright defiance. And so, man, I'm still growing up. I'm still learning, and I'm willing to learn, man. I'm excited about the new phase of my life, man, because shit just be happening without my permission. Surrender is something only weak and cowardly people did, right? So I had my third encounter since I've been clean on the job site. I used to just fight. A motherfucker tell me he got a problem, ain't no parking lot, homeboy, right now. Because I ain't need no help fucking up my life. Motherfucker, I got big arms too. I work out. What? Principle. Well, that's the principle. A principle is a code of conduct, right? And so we talking about spiritual principles now. So I got a title, and this dude talked to me like I was a motherfucking little kid, man. How you do that, sponsor? How you do that? How you let a motherfucker talk to you like you a nobody and stand on spiritual principles? My God just show up at the most opportune times. And he say shit through me like I still can't believe. He said, check it out, Jaron, man, you sound a little upset. This is probably not the proper time for us to deal with this, man. We probably should take this in the office. I'm like, hold on. Progress, not perfection. So in that 2-year period between 2 and 4 when the rubber met the road, this is what happened to me on the job site working for this same company. My truth, man. But I've progressively gotten better, man, because of the application of the 12-step process, sometimes intentionally and sometimes without my permission, man. I got into an altercation with a police call on an airport job, like the job I'm working on right now. And my sponsor asked me some stupid ass shit. After I got through telling him what happened, he said, well, what could you have done different? What? And so today what I know, man, is that it will always be a new opportunity for growth, and nothing would I change about what happened on Tuesday, man. I wouldn't change nothing on how I dealt with Tuesday, man. So like, I'm grateful to be growing up, man. Like, man, my heart hurt right now, man. Terminal hypnosis and fatal cool. You know, my dad is 70 years old, man, and he won't stop, man. He won't stop, and he got all the solutions, and he ain't willing to listen because he got all the answers. And everybody tell me what the fuck I need to do. I made a decision, man. Most of y'all, if you sitting in here and you've been around this area for the last 4 or 5 years, you saw me cry in the meeting, man, about this situation. And I prayed to God for many years in a row, man, just give me the courage to be all right with his decisions, man. And my prayers and answers, man, I got strong. And I understood that powerlessness on a deeper level. I understood surrender on a deeper level. And I got to the other side of being okay with his decisions, man. And then he showed up again, man. So I'm still working through it, man. My sponsor always asks me, do you think you're going to be okay if he check out today? And in my heart of hearts, man, I'm going to be okay because I did everything I could, man, except to allow him to continue using me, man, because of his title. That's the only thing that I ain't done, man, is to allow the disease of addiction to work through him and kill me spiritually, man. I tried to get him help, man. I sent him to treatment. I gave him a place to live. I sent him umpteen dollars. You know, I did a 9-step with him, man, and I told him, man, if you got any blockage about not being there for your son, like, man, I worked a 4-step. You good, right? I understand that you you couldn't do anything for yourself, so it's impossible for you to do something with me, man. You can let yourself off the hook for that, you know? And life is a combination of moments of happiness and sadness. And so in my new community, man, they don't even know me. But they know that big motherfucker will cry. Because I went to the meeting and I cried, man. But all seriously, man, I'm so grateful, man, to have people that believe in me and want to help me in my recovery, man. I'm so grateful for the people that came before me and during me that had the courage to talk about their current reality, right? Because I hear about it, man. People with clean time get backed into a corner because of their image and their service positions, and they can't talk about how the disease of addiction is killing them internally today. And I don't want to be that, because I seen the result. Because see, my story ain't this. My story ain't I stopped going to meetings, I stopped working with sponsors, I stopped going, writing on steps, not having, that ain't my story. I was doing all those things and left the noon meeting in smoke. I was doing all those things with 16 months clean and smoke. I was doing all those things with 9 months and smoke. But I wasn't doing this. I wasn't getting honest on a deeper level. I was surface sharing. How you doing, Nate? Oh, I'm good, man. Everything good, bro. Yeah, man, the job working out well. You know how iron workers is. Every now and then it's a little rough, man, because of personalities, but everything good. Me and the old lady ain't together no more. We tried to work it out with it, blah, 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 blah. Ain't talking about shit. Right? Skimming the surface. What my boy say? Got the clean time heebie-jeebies. Right? But for real, man, is I'm grateful, man. Everything in my life is new, man. I got my son here with me, man, and throughout his lifetime, he's got to experience the love of the fellowship throughout his life, man. When I got clean, he's a little baby. And my other son, man, he making big moves in his life. Life is good, man. And it ain't about monetarily or the titles I got at work, because I had some of that shit when I got here. I just couldn't keep it, right? But what I have kept, man, is my nieces and nephews. Ain't never seen me loaded, man. I'm the favorite. I'm the favorite. For the whole month, every day she got up and asked her mama, when we going to see Uncle Red, man? In Mississippi, all the light-skinned people named Red. So that was my nickname growing up. And so, man, my life has real value today, is what I'm saying to you. As a result of, Narcotics Anonymous and you people, showing me unconditional love no matter where God has put me, man. Because of you showing me how to display courage and willingness in my life, man. I show up, man. Sometimes people ask me, man, how in the fuck do you have time to work 60 hours a week, fly to other states, do this, do that? God's will ain't never a struggle. My life appeared sometimes or feel unmanageable, man, but I never forget to pay my bills. I never forget my insurance. I pay my car note. I found the ability to take care of the necessary things in my life, because most of my life is God-centered, man. Not all of my life. Sometimes, man, I get bright-ass ideas. So I'm going to share this with you, and I'm going to release you. Don't get lost in the byproducts. Y'all know what the byproducts is, right? The job, the car, the girl. Like, all that shit is a byproduct of not using. That's not recovery in AC's life. So when I got here, right, when the rubber met the road and they did the group conscious, I was 33 and a half years old. I had a credit score of about fucking 300 and didn't give a fuck. Every vehicle that I ever owned, somebody else was a co-signer. Every apartment that I ever lived in, every house, somebody else was a co-signer. Everything that I took care of on my own, I destroyed. I never made a doctor's appointment. I never washed dishes. I never washed and fold and put away clothes. I never did nothing. I had the same job and I traveled, and my wife would make the arrangements. I just had to show up. I never knew what the process was like. So what happened during the rubber meeting the road period in my life, man, is I had to get down and lay down. I had to show up to grow up. So when they froze the bank account for back child support, my sponsor told me I got to practice character and integrity. You got to accept who and what you became as a result of using. Due to your inability to take care of your personal responsibility, you created your own problems. Talking about a deeper level of acceptance, right? And not. So I said, ma'am, I don't know what happened. And she told me what happened. In 2006, they passed a new law. If you have more than $3,000 in savings and you connect it to the bank where your child support is, they will email the bank and put a freeze on your savings. And that's what happened to me. And I felt victimized. And I told the lady, ma'am, I know it's not your fault, but like, really, if they look at my history, they'll see that I haven't been late in 4 years since I've been on back child support. And she did that, right? And the lady said, hold on, Mr. Coley, this ain't right. And so she talked to her supervisor. So the process is they take 85%, whether you're willing or not. Nate, see? So you can prolong the process, or you can sign the paper and we'll release the other 15%, or it'll take 8 weeks. How you want to do it, player? And so the lady said to me, that ain't right, Mr. Coles. Your history is excellent. I'm talking about creating a new reality. I'm talking about following direction and getting a different result as a practicing this way of life. And so the lady went and talked to her supervisor, and instead of 85%, they took 50%, right? So I showed up to the vehicle place. I had a truck that was 2 years old that I never felt whole. It was 2 years old and paid off, but she paid it off. It never felt like mine. So I told my sponsor, man, I'm ready to stand on my own 2 feet. So I went to this place with this big old stack of money, and they said, nah, we can't help you. Your interest rate gonna be 18.7. Shit, that ain't that bad. And then I went to this other place and this other place. Make a long story short, is I accept the responsibility for the damage I had caused throughout my young adulthood, man. And I knew that I couldn't move forward without dealing with the past. So I was gonna have to deal with these circumstances in order to get to where I wanted to be. So I accepted the high interest rate, but I had a new reality. I never missed a payment. Right, so my life got different. I ain't talking about the truck. Don't get lost in the journey, right? And so everything that I did, I had to pay a deposit, right? I had to pay a deposit for the apartment. I had to pay a deposit for the water. I had to pay a deposit for the cable, everything. And so what happened is eventually this became a way of life, man, and I got a new reality, but I stayed consistent. I never missed a payment. I was never late because sponsor told me that if you ain't never late, eventually you will have a new reality. I had a new reality. So at about 6 years clean, the baby mama didn't like my wife, so they got into an altercation, so she wanted to take me to court. But by this time, I had been training. Sharon, sound like you having a bad day. Like, I'm not gonna participate, ain't no solution in this. I didn't do anything to make you upset, and I'm not participating. If you call me back, I'm not gonna answer the phone. So y'all told me some punk shit, my perception. Y'all told me, go to Fathers for Equal Rights. You have a child support order. That's actually good that you have a child support order. That means she's directly violating a court order, but God gonna need your help. Whatever you do, don't respond to your emotions. How you do that? How you do that when you feel victimized? How you do that? Right? So one situation at a time, I did that punk shit. I called the police. I got a report. I called sponsor. I shared about it in the meeting. When I showed up for court, she character assassinated me out the gate, told him I was a crackhead and I did this and I did that. And my turn came. And I showed up with a folder. And I said, how you doing, Your Honor? I'm Nathan Cozy, and I had a drug problem, and I have a drug problem, but I haven't used drugs in X amount of years. I've done this, I've done that. I haven't missed any child support payments, and this is what I've done. And the judge asked the bailiff to get the folder. And the judge said, Mrs. Beeman, I suggest that you get some help. Mr. Cozy, I commend you for what you've done with your life. So I started to see the results, man, right? And so the judge said, Mrs. Beeman, what you've done is directly violated a court order. I order you, and I had receipts for every money order that I got. I had receipts for I had documents for every day that I had to miss work to go to court to file the paperwork. I followed instructions, man. So I got a different result, man. And I thought I was gonna feel good if I won. And I realized that Quentin was suffering the most, right? And so the judge told me he commended me, and then he went on to tell me that his daughter was a recovering addict. Addicts today are more fortunate than addicts before because society recognizing the disease of addiction as a disease, right? How do I become that guy that at 20 years clean walk away from everything that he owned and display character and integrity in the face of God? That's what I want to be today. So when I won the judgment, she never paid me. It was days when the old boogaboo said, light her ass up. But most days, y'all said that's priceless for the damage you did to that lady. Because I was 18 years old, undiagnosed addict. I didn't start using drugs till I was 19 and a half. By the time I was 21, I had 4 DUIs. I had 12 domestic violence cases. I had 3 assaults with a deadly weapon. And my life was headed nowhere fast, man. So today, I got integrity in the face of my parents, man. My people in my community, most of them like me. My co-workers, the owner of my company really appreciates me on his team, right? And so as a result of, Like, you hear people around here, they tell you what they doing. Like, I'm Doug B. Chat C is my sponsor. Man to Man is my home group. I got a service position over here. I got a service, that's an active 12-step program, right? That ain't telling you what I did at 8/15/05. That's what I'm doing right now. Because the disease of addiction is progressive even during abstinence. Clean time don't equal recovery. At the end of the 12th step, it says, ain't nobody read that yet? It's time for a new beginning. That's what it says. I ain't make that shit up. It's on there, right? And so in a new beginning, man, I'm currently working the 5th step, right? So some more masks got to go, right? I'm currently learning how to parent young adult men, how to let them be their own men, how to let them make their mistakes whether I agree or not, how not to become emotionally involved in their problems, how to stand on principles in the face of adversity. I'm practicing. I did pretty good this week, in spite of my disappointment and my sadness. Because y'all taught me how to recognize and put a name on my feelings, I was able to tell sponsor in my support group what I believed I was feeling. I wasn't angry, I was disappointed. I'm sad, man, I'm scared. So, you know, man, thank you, like, for all the people that came to highways and the byways. Thank you for all the people that believe in AC, man. And ain't nothing special about what I did except I made a decision and followed it up with action, right? I made a decision on Tuesday that my primary purpose wasn't to people please and to make this dude happy. And if I had to lose my job, walk off of my job, I wasn't gonna wear handcuffs and I wasn't gonna destroy the character that it took me so long to build, right? And so, you know, man, again, I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for letting me rattle on, man. And if nothing else, if you ain't hear shit else I said about my process, I hope that you heard that we ain't never seen a person fail that has lived the Narcotics Anonymous program. That's better than the lottery. That's better than the fucking lottery. Never. Not, you look to your left, look to the old information, the misinformed information for some of them other places. Look to the left, look to the right. One of y'all ain't gonna make it. You too fucking old. You too young. I drank more shit than you even thought about using. Like, it says, this has saved my life. This saved my life on 8/15/05. In our third tradition, it says that even a using addict displays a sign of willingness that cannot be discounted, right? If you smuggle some shit here and you taking it a little bit at a time and you think you fooling somebody but yourself, even you display a sign of willingness that cannot be discounted, right? It says that the path from the heart to the mind is often alone. Look at your journey tonight, man, right? Look at your journey as you sit quietly by yourself and you think about, how in the fuck do I keep ending up like this? And you think to yourself, have I ever tried the Narcotics Anonymous program? Think this. Who's an addict? Nathan. Why the fuck is Nathan here with almost 12 years clean? It's a little bit different than I was when I still got a problem with drugs. The only reason I ain't got a problem is because I ain't got none in me. What does the Narcotics Anonymous program mean to Nathan today? And how does it really work today? We make meetings, right? We work steps. We do service, right? We build our relationship with our God, and then we give it back. If you ain't hear nothing else I said, We ain't never seen a person fail that has lived the Narcotics Anonymous program, and that means you. No matter what your experience was, it's hard to relapse if you ain't never tried recovery. Relapse is a reoccurrence of an illness. Recovery is an active change in my ideas and my behaviors. It's written by addicts for addicts. I ain't make this shit up. It's in there. Thanks for letting me share.